everyone, and thank you for joining us for yet another edition of Mentoring, Mental Health, and Public Health with Tolu Madara here on Amoge Radio Communications. Honestly, I am so glad, so grateful, so delighted that we have a very special guest with us. Her name is Miss Adeola Agbelemoge. She is a trained mental health first aider. For those of you who were with us on the last edition of the program, we told you about her. You heard the great practical tips she shared with us, as well as the insights she also shared with us from the trainings she has been on, from the experiences she has had as a counselor, as a mental health first aider. And today, for those who may not have joined us last week, I'm going to read her profile again, a short profile of her, so you know who it is that we have the privilege of having with us on the program today. Adeola Agbelemoge is a counselor, a life coach, and a mental health advocate who is passionate about helping individuals navigate life's challenges, identify their strengths, overcome obstacles, and reach their full potential. Adeola is a UK certified counselor, a US certified adult mental health first aider, and psychological first aider. She also possesses a college degree in business administration. She's a member of the Chartered Institute of Personnel Management and a certified recruiter. Ms. Agbelemoge, we are so grateful to have the privilege of your presence once again on another edition of the program. Thank you so much for being with us. You're very welcome to the program, ma'am.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm grateful.
Okay, so we're going to launch into the deep. I have a question for you, Ma, as a way of beginning. Now, when you say you are a life coach, this is your professional area. What does it mean to be a life coach? It suggests to me that you coach people about life issues, which is connected to mental health, right? But can you please educate us a bit on that, ma'am?
Okay, a life coach is someone that helps people.
Okay.
I'll put it in simple form, get to where they want to be, help them identify where they are and what are the strategies that they can employ, right? What are the tools that they need, right, to help them get to where they're going. So there's a goal that they want to achieve regarding their life. It can be relationship, it can be health, it can be weight, it can be our professional goal, right? So helping people achieving and realizing that goal. And they do this like a facilitator. You are facilitating growth with active listening and questioning, right? To draw up from them, because most cases, looking at helping people from a coaching perspective, most cases people actually have the answers to the solution. It's on the inside of they don't know. So as a coach, you help them bring it out, right? And achieve that goal that they have identified that they want to achieve. So that's just a simple form of what a life coach does. So of course, we have coaching for different areas, but a life coach actually gets involved in that person's life, helping them to fulfill different life goals that they have identified per time that they want to get done.
Thank you so much. I still want to dig deep into that, please. So, one of the things we've been very passionate about on this program, on different webinars, including the one we're privileged to have you on, is that we need to have conversations around a national mentoring model. We've been advocating for, a national mentoring policy. In the United States, for instance, we're excited to see that they have what they call mentor advocacy. They actually have, I think, funding for national mentor programs at the national level. I think they also have an act. We once had the privilege of having somebody, I think his name is Kaden Fabi, if I remember well, who had been on one of these, or who is actively involved in mentor advocacy in the US, here on one of our webinars. And one of the things we've been pushing for is that different nations have to have their own national mentoring, frameworks and so on and so forth. Now, in this particular program that I have been on since July, one of the things that I've also kind of kept pushing for is the need to have effective mentor training, right? So there must be mentor identification, there must be mentor selection, there must be mentor training as well. There must also be effective matching, which you alluded to in the last program, in the last episode. The right mentees must be matched with the right mentors. But I want to stay a little bit on the issue of the training. Now, from your experience as a life coach, right, in building the framework for a national mentoring model or a national mentoring policy or a national mentoring program, how critical would you say this life coach skills, right? How how critical would you say it is to mentoring objectively? If you think it is not, please let us know. If you think it is and there is no way one can mentor effectively without life coaching skills, please also let us know. But we really want to know, can you be effective as a mentor, especially one acting as a mental health paraprofessional, if you do not have the life coaching skills?
Thank you for that question. I would say that mentoring encompasses life coaching. It encompasses coaching, right? So mentoring is deeper than coaching, right? So you can actually mentor without actually going through life training, life coaching training. That is because, like I said in the last episode that we had, mentoring, and you have rightly said, is a relationship that is developed, a bond, right? That is developed. Right? And usually it's you're able to mentor people in the areas that you have had wins. In the areas you have had experiences you have overcome. Now, coaching is actually also playing in that space, because now we also have niche coaching, right? We have what we call niche coaching, right? Niche coaching, that area where you have gone through an experience and you have open strategies that able to use to get out, to overcome that experience. And
so that's the niche.
Niche coaching. So, for example, weight loss, right? So you can have a weight loss, someone that had lost, had weight loss issue, and then had gone through a process of, achieving his or her own desired weight. And so this process are strategies that you can now put together in a structured form, right? To coach people, to help people, right? To provide support and keep them accountable so that they can also achieve their goals in that space, right? So you can actually mentor without having that life coaching skills. But what the life coaching skills does is, it helps you to put structure to what you're doing as a mentor, right? Because if you are not working in that space of the areas where I've had wins, the areas where I've had proven strategies that has worked for me and I've used also for others and they have become successful, right? Then I can bring them together, because like I said, mentoring is a deeper form of relationship. So I do not need to have such deep relationship with you for me to coach you. Do you understand?
Absolutely.
I can form a form of connection with you, right? But not necessarily a relationship with you for me to coach. But for you to mentor people, you must have that relationship with them.
Yes.
That is connecting, right? That you can be vulnerable to say, hey, I missed it here. I can't. Yes. You understand? Hey, I missed it here. Yes. But I can't do that as a coach, right? So you can actually mentor with him, but when you have the coaching skills, what it does, it makes you do more. What it does is more. So that's how I want to put it.
Thank you. And I really love your answer, because I also believe that coaching is just like a subset of mentoring. Mentoring is about relationships, and it requires a lot of vulnerability. When I'm mentoring someone, I'm more or less exposed to every aspect of their life. But if I'm coaching, it can just be the professional aspect. Like you said, it can be the niche area. But when it comes to mentoring, the person is totally open, totally vulnerable, and I'm supposed to have almost like complete oversight of that person emotionally, spiritually, professionally, and every other area of the person's life. So thank you for that answer. But I also like what you said, especially when it comes to formal mentoring programs. It can help, according to you, what I hear you say is that it can actually help to introduce life coaching skills, because it can bring some structure to the relationship, to the mentoring relationship. But there's a whole lot more to mentoring than coaching, according to what you said. Am I right, Mark?
Yes, please. Yes, please.
Okay, so I want us to go to this issue of psychological first aider. That was one question I had. What is the difference between a mental health first aider and a psychological first aider? Is there a difference? And then if there is, yes.
Yes, so when I did the psychological first aider training, it was more or less speaking to that first intervention that you have when we have or occurrence like earthquake, those life altering, right?
Okay.
Those life encounters and occurrence and events that happen, to people. And then the first respondents, the people that are on ground, have that intervention with the people that have been affected, right? So mental health first aider is speaking more about mental health issues that people might be. Of course, these events can actually also result to, mental health issues. Right, but it's not first speaking to that, but first speaking to when there is some life-altering events, some life-changing, like the tsunami,
the floods in Libya,
where there's a fire outbreak, and then you speaking to those people that have gone through that experience, right? So you have that, you are their first contact, you are speaking to them, and what that does, what it's actually centered on is, listening, your listening skill, your reflective ability to listen to people, to hear what they are not saying, and to be able to also read the signs that they are giving off as a result of that event that has happened to them, so that you can now, recommend them for further professional help, basically. So when somebody's gone through maybe an earthquake and they've lost their home, for example, need that, they need someone to talk to, they need someone to share with, someone they can talk to say, this is what I'm going to, someone that is first speaking to them to bring them out, so that they don't go further into develop health issues as a result of what has happened to them. So your ability to actually listen, to hear what they are saying and what they are not saying, and then to actually also see the signs that these people need help, they cannot function, right, because of what happened to them, and then also referring them to professionals to help them, so you do an assessment, and based on that assessment, you're able to say this person with continuous support would come out of it, or this person further help, right? So that's what you were speaking to when I took that course.
Oh my God, this is powerful. I mean, I'm so excited. To our listeners, just think about it, right? I know that there was a flood recently. As the last I checked, about 5,300 people are said to have died in Libya. Is it Libya or Morocco? I think it's Libya.
Morocco.
Right? Is it Morocco? Okay, thank you. Yes, it's Morocco. Okay, I'm mixing it up. So 5,300 people are said to have died, and she was saying that those life-altering occurrences. There was an earthquake in Morocco, and then shortly after that, this past week, I think there has also been a flood in Libya. While that region was still recovering from the earthquake in Morocco, then there have been the floods in Libya again. And so what she's saying to us is that the first intervention, so to say, for those life-altering events should be a psychological first aider. Now, the psychological first aider, she's saying, will then be able to identify whether that issue is likely to, worsen into a mental health issue. Because I was wondering about the difference between a psychological first aider and a mental health first aider. She said, well, essentially, not every psychological first aider assessment will translate into the need for mental health. Some, because like when she was telling us last week that not every form of sadness is a mental health issue. Some people will overcome it. Is when it's prolonged and the person is not able to get over it on his or her own, that is now becoming a mental health issue. I'm really grateful for that distinction, because I don't know. Now, again, I'm coming back to the mentoring part. First of all, do we have enough psychological? And I know that it's easy to say, oh, the answer is likely to be no. But I still want to ask from your own experience, do we have enough psychological first aiders? Do we have enough of these trainings? And if we don't, what can we do to advocate for more of such trainings? Over 5,000 people have died in Libya, for instance. Do we have enough support? Do we have, and this is away from the West, from America, from the UK, and this is Africa, this is Northern Africa, but it's Africa, right? Do we actually have enough? And if we don't, what can we do? What can we advocate for? Can we advocate for psychological first aid training to be incorporated into more and more in-house mentorship programs? Or should we just separate psychological first aid from mentorship and just have many psychological first aiders? I don't know what you think, but these are the thoughts in my head, right? We have enough of these people, and we need to imbue these trainings. We need to incorporate this psychological first aid training, for instance, into mentorship programs, or should we set them apart since it's mostly about things like natural disasters? Over to you.
Okay, thank you for that question. So looking at our climb here in Africa, I think that usually when we have such natural disasters happening, we do not first think of the impact it has on people's mental well-being, right? We are first about the damage that is done, the physical damage that is done, right? So how do I save the home? How do we relocate people? And how do we get relief materials to them? So those are the first things that actually, we are not considering how has this thing impacted these people psychologically? What are their thoughts, right? Because some people, such events happen to them and they are thinking thoughts like, I've lost it all, I just need to go and commit suicide.
Oh my God.
You understand, right? So I would say we do, so in answering your question, I would say we do not have enough of such people on ground, right? And I would say that it will be proactive of us and of the government to begin to think, right, to training people, right, in this space. It will be proactive of them to think of training people in this space, because we do not desire that such natural disasters should happen. But you find when it happens, everybody is
reality.
In shock. Yes, the nation is reeling from that. Do you get it? So being proactive as a government or as an agency in any way is to have psychological first aiders that will immediately be on ground to begin to speak to these people as they are getting them to safety. There is a space, either a shelter or a space designated to these people, talking to them as to say what is going through your mind, as what has happened, right? So we do not have enough of what we actually do need people to be trained. Now, to answer your question, should us be psychological first aiders? My opinion, I would say that might be, too much of a responsibility on the mentor, right? It might be too much because already they have their roles and responsibilities. But what I can say, the connection that I can say now is, if a psychological first aider has spoken to someone and you have found out that the person from your assessment, just need support for 2 days and the person will come out of it, so you can recommend that person for mentoring. And that this person needs professional help, then you recommend that person to see a professional medical psychologist, or a psychiatrist. I think that is how the mentors can come in to work with psychological first aiders. Right.
Awesome. Thank you very much. I really love that. So she has said to us, for our listeners, that first of all, the psychological first aid is something that we need to carry along with other forms of relief support after natural disasters. And it's instinctive to just think of relocating people, for instance, think about what they've lost physically, and we do not assess the impact on their mental state. And when we don't do that, typically, sometimes, if your name doesn't say typically, but sometimes if we are not careful, it could result in suicidal thoughts, because to be very honest with you, the thought of beginning again can be very scary. like, where do I start from? God forbid. I mean, I remember once going to the house of a man whose house was burnt down. I mean, at that kind of moment, what you have taken years to build, when it's, I mean, just one house. I'm not talking about earthquake. I'm not talking about flood. If just one house burnt down to the ground, what you've built over years, if you are not careful, even the thought of how do I begin again can crush the person. But when there is a psychological first aider at such moment, along with other forms of relief, as you're thinking about where would this person sleep, what would this person wear, she said those are the things we instinctively think about, the physical and material needs. But we have to also incorporate the mental, the psychological first aid support to say, okay, let's assess the impact of this person, and if there's a need to refer the person to mental health professionals, let's do, right? She then answered and said, as far as mentoring goes, we do not necessarily have to incorporate that. Rather, we should ensure that the psychological first aiders can collaborate with the mentors. The psychological first aiders, after an assessment, can determine when to refer people who have gone through such disasters, survivors of such disasters. They can know when to refer them to mentors, for the mentors to now continue to work with them, right? I wanted to speak a little bit on that, Ma. At what point, or what are some of the things you think should make a psychological first aider refer someone to a mentor for further engagement?
Okay, thank you. So, like I said before, when a psychological first aider is speaking to someone that has, had life-altering, events, and I mean, it might just even be within the states. For example, in Lagos State recently, we had this train accident, that crushed a bus, right? And the loss of life. And, so in the event of such disasters, such, occurrences, I mean, when you meet with a psychological first aider, or a psychological first aider is speaking to people about that, right? So you are looking at how are they taking the loss? How is, how are they expressing themselves, right? How are they expressing them as regards to that loss? You understand? Have you noticed, have you noticed? So those are questions that these psychological first aiders can ask them. Have you noticed, altering in your behavior, in your day-to-day activity? You understand? And how are you coping? What are your thoughts? You understand? So, like I said, when someone is suicidal, so if you are asking those questions and, the person is speaking around, for example, let's say the person is already having suicidal thought. The person is speaking around, why am I still here? What am I living for? You understand? I mean, there's no need why I'm here. Already, you know that this person is already having thoughts around that, area, And so those questioning that you're doing and those active listening, I keep saying it because that also active listening, paraphrasing, reflective listening, paraphrasing their words back to them will help you to decide if this person is actually in a state where, I mean, if they are giving further support, they will be able to, to get on with life after a while. Or if this person, from the conversations I've had with them, some of them, even at that point, do not even want to have any conversation. They're actually even in a state of shock. That person needs medical. They're in a state of shock. So, I mean, so through questioning, through active listening, you're able to assess and say, oh, this person, I think that this person, with that support, with that guide, just, being available for this person to, provide listening here, right? And when that person can reach out to you to listen to you, this person with time will be able to come out of that, of the effect of what has happened. But this person is in that state where it has totally altered, because sometimes for some people, the events triggers and they sometimes might lose their mind, you understand?
Of course.
because people have different threshold.
I mean, let me give you one example. I remember someone I know personally who lost 9 family members in a plane crash.
Wow.
In Dana plane crash in 2012, on June 3rd, 2012. 9.
Wow.
But thankfully, the person was, at a high level of exposure and was able to get all the support. And then we came together as well, brought attention to the issues, canvassed, followed. Some of us came together. But I mean, that's a very life-altering event. And you don't just say, oh, they can cope. No, we have to provide the psychological first aid. We need to refer them to mental health professionals if we see the signs that they need to.
Yes, and for some, initially they might look okay. That is why
that's the worst.
Yes, initially they might look okay, right?
That's the more dangerous one.
Yes, so there has to be that continuous intervention and support to say, I'm checking, even with the psychological first aider, to check in to say, how are you doing? What have you done with yourself today? And for some of them, you find out that maybe they are not even able to get out of bed, even though on the first day they look okay.
And that's why you use the word assessment. You have to keep assessing, and you need to know, if this needs to be referred, or if the person is improving, if the person is going through the stages of grief. It was National Grief Awareness Day recently in the US, sometime in August. Like, people need to be educated about the stages of grief, especially those around them, so that you truly know if they are healing well or they are just in a constant state of denial, which can be a precursor, God forbid, to all other kinds of worsening mental states.
Absolutely.
Wow.
Absolutely.
Oh my God. What a joy, what a delight, what a pleasure, what a honor to have had you with us this last 2 episodes. Honestly, it feels like we should just go on forever. It's a topic that I'm very passionate about, and obviously we also had the privilege of having someone who is probably even more passionate about these things. And I hope you have learned a lot. What does it mean to have psychological first aiders? In the US, I think the last I checked, they had about 3 million psychological first aiders as at July 2023. I wish I could tell you that we have 300,000 in Nigeria or in Africa. I'm not sure, but at least we have Miss Adeola Agbolemoge. She's a trained psychological first aider. She can bring awareness to this issue. She can converse, she can advocate, and this is what she's been doing. That we have more people trained in Nigeria, in Africa, in other parts of the world, so that when those issues occur, we do not just assume that people are fine, but as we are providing relief, we are also providing the support. And when they get to the stage where they can be referred to mentors, psychological first aiders, she has told us, can pass the survivors of such disasters on to mentors. But there is that need for immediate post-disaster intervention through people like Ms. Adeola Agbolemoge, who have been trained in psychological first aid. Wow, this has been so enlightening. On a last note, Ma, is there anything you want us to take away? You want to drum, into our ears, ask us to hold on to? Like the last episode, I remember you saying one of the things you learned is do not be afraid to call out suicide. What do you want to leave with us as a takeaway for today, Ma?
Okay, I would say I'd had a wonderful time, and thank you, and thank you, Mudgate, for the opportunity. And I would speak to 2 parts of what that I've said before, is that when it comes to natural disaster or happenings, right, that have to do with life-threatening, life-altering, event, we must be proactive to have all the both human and material resources available on ground. Particular part must not be left out, I mean, we mustn't just focus on how do we, get these people relocated to another place, how do we get them relief. We must also think as a nation, right, as agencies, country, we must also how has this affected the mental health right, and what can we do to help them. And last, I want to say something that I always love saying whenever I talk about mental health is if you're going through mental health challenge, never be afraid to be vulnerable. And being vulnerable says never be afraid or ashamed to ask for help. I will quickly share a story here. And that story is that a guy was on a bridge and was about to commit suicide.
Wow.
And, one of these first respondents, it actually happened in the US, respondent got to him and, started to speak to him. And when that person was able to bring him over to the other side, they asked the young man, why did you decide to come? And the person said, because he listened to me. I got someone to listen.
Oh, no.
I mean, sincerely, never be afraid to ask for help, because I realize that there are people that will listen to you only if you speak right. Only if you speak right. So you don't have to die in silence. You don't have to manage all by yourself. All you have to do is look around you and see people. Even go online. We have people that free mental health, consultation online. Right, that you don't have to see that person physically. You can just say, I'd like to do it. I will not be on video, so please always ask for help. Right? Always ask for help. Thank you. That's what I want to leave with.
Awesome. Thank you. You gave me the goosebumps literally as you shared that story. And this is a powerful note on which to end. We are ending on an individual level today, not on a policy level. Please and please and please, no one is so strong as not to need. We must know when we need. We talked about authenticity, vulnerability during the last episode. Today we are closing on that level again. True leaders know when to receive. No one is so rich that he cannot receive. There is no one that... Think about the simple process of breathing. It's a process of giving and receiving. You give out CO2, like they say, and then you receive oxygen. Please and please. It is on this note of receiving that Ms. Adeola Agbelemoge has left us today, and I totally agree with her. Please don't be afraid to receive help. Don't be afraid to request help. Don't be afraid to go online. She has said to us, you can even maintain your privacy. You can choose to not give up your name, but do not be afraid and ashamed, let me add, to request mental help when you need it. Mental health help. Mr. Adeola Agbelemoge, what a joy, what a honor, what a privilege, and honestly, what a blessing to have had you with us this last 2 episodes. We are truly and tremendously grateful. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you very, very much. Well, it's on this note that we draw a curtain on this edition of Mentoring Mental Health and Public Health with Tolu Omadara here on Mortgage Radio Communications. She has thanked us for having her, but we actually want to thank her all the more for being here with us. Thank you very much again, Ms. Adeola Agbelemoge. So we will wrap it up here, and we'll see you same time, same station next week. Until then, please take care of your mental health and take care of the mental health of those around you, especially your mentees, and take care of your mental health even as a mentor. And don't be afraid to receive. Thank you so much, and we'll see you same time, same station next week. Thank you very much for being with us.